Okay, so have you ever like woken up and you thought you slept enough, like 7 or 8 hours, but you still feel just like completely wiped out? Like
Yeah.
you ran a marathon to your sleep or something?
Yeah, it's so frustrating, isn't it? You get supposedly enough sleep, but you still wake up feeling awful.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. We're doing a deep dive into this whole idea of like why we feel so tired after sleeping and, how we can maybe wake up feeling better, even with, maybe less sleep than we're used to.
Exactly.
And we're going to be looking at this really cool YouTube video transcript from this channel called Web5Gay. And they kind of go into this whole thing.
Yeah, they really break down all the science behind it. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, think of this as your like cheat sheet to understanding how to actually get good sleep because we're going to pull out all the really important stuff about how sleep works, like on a deeper level.
Right, like all the stuff that most people just don't think about.
Yeah. And you can use this information to like actually optimize your sleep
Yeah.
and, maybe even wake up feeling like you have some energy.
Exactly. It's not
Yeah.
just about getting enough sleep. It's about getting the right kind of sleep.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're going to break this down into two parts, like how the YouTube video does it.
Hmm.
So first we're going to be like diagnosing the problem, what's actually happening when we wake up feeling super tired.
Right, because it's not always about just not getting enough sleep. There's more to it than that.
Yeah. And then we're going to be getting into, the stuff that you can do to like fix this.
The actionable stuff.
Exactly. So think of it like this. First we got to figure out what's wrong and then we can figure out how to fix it. And this is for like anyone, anyone who wants to feel good and have energy during the day.
Exactly. Students, professionals, retirees, everyone.
So yeah, let's dive right into part one.
Mm.
Like, why do we wake up feeling so tired sometimes?
Well, one of the biggest things that people don't realize is that sleep isn't just like one long, continuous thing.
Right. You just kind of fall asleep and you wake up.
Yeah, it seems that way, but our bodies actually cycle through all these different stages of sleep during the night.
Interesting. So it's not just one, like you said, one continuous block?
No, it's more like you go through these cycles, and each cycle is about 90 minutes long.
90 minutes. Okay. So like a full hour and a half.
Yeah, it's about average. Of course, it can vary a little bit from person to person.
Okay. 90-minute cycles. And then within each cycle, there are different stages, right?
Yes, exactly. The YouTube video breaks it down into 5 stages.
5. Okay. So what are those?
Well, the first stage is called Ru Ut, which means like drowsiness. So that's when you're first starting to fall asleep.
Okay.
And then stage 2 is Nunong, which means like light sleep. So your body's starting to relax, but you can still be woken up pretty easily.
And you spend like a good amount of time in this stage, right?
Yeah, actually, this stage makes up about 50% of our total sleep time.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is. Then we move into stage 3, which is Nutsao, and that means deep sleep.
Deep sleep.
Mm.
This is where the good stuff happens, right?
This is where a lot of the physical restoration happens, like your body's actually repairing and rebuilding itself.
So how long does that last?
Well, it's not as long as light sleep. It's only about 10% of our total sleep.
10%. Okay.
Then we go even deeper into stage 4, which is Nurletso, and that's like very deep sleep.
Very deep sleep. So what's happening then?
That's when your body's like completely relaxed, your heart rate's slow, your breathing is slow. It's like you're totally out of it.
Wow. And then finally we get to stage 5.
Yes. Stage 5 is Numa, which means dreaming sleep, or what we know as REM sleep.
REM sleep. Oh yeah, I've heard of that. So that's when we have all those crazy dreams, right?
Exactly. Your brain activity goes way up, even though your body is basically paralyzed, so you don't act out your dreams.
That makes sense. It would be kind of chaotic if we were like running around in our sleep acting out all those dreams.
Exactly. So yeah, those are the 5 stages. And the thing is, we cycle through these stages multiple times throughout the night.
Okay, so it's not just like one cycle and then we're done.
No, it's like you go through stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you start over again.
And how many cycles do you usually go through in a night?
Well, the video says that completing around 5 cycles, which is about 7.5 hours of sleep, can often leave us feeling pretty refreshed in the morning.
So about 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But even if we get that amount of sleep, we can still wake up feeling tired.
Right? Yes. And that's because of the timing of when you wake up.
Okay, so it's not just about the total amount of sleep. It's also about when we wake up during these cycles.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting. The video really emphasizes the impact of waking up during those deep sleep stages.
Stage 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, waking up when your body is in that deep state of rest can make you feel super groggy and disoriented. It's like your body's not ready to just jump into action.
Right. I've definitely experienced that. Like, even if I've slept for 8 hours, if I wake up in the middle of one of those deep sleep cycles, I'm just like a zombie.
Exactly. Your body and brain are basically like, hey, what's going on? Why are you waking us up? We were in the middle of something important.
It's like being ripped out of a really good dream.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, the timing of when you wake up is super important.
Okay, so based on this understanding of sleep cycles, what are the key elements for waking up feeling refreshed?
Well, the video highlights two main things. The first is aiming for those 5 complete 90-minute cycles.
Okay, so about 7.5 hours of sleep. What's the second?
The second is to time your wake up so that it happens at the transition point between the end of a REM sleep cycle and the beginning of a new light sleep cycle.
Okay, so we want to avoid being woken up in the middle of deep sleep.
That makes sense.
Exactly. It's all about working with your body's natural rhythm.
Gotcha. So now that we understand why we might be waking up feeling tired, let's get into part 2 of the video, which is the cure.
Right. Let's talk about how we can actually fix this.
And the video actually has this really cool formula that can help you calculate the ideal time to set your alarm.
Yeah, this formula is super useful. Okay, so what is it?
It's desired wake-up time equals bedtime plus 1.5 hours per cycle times. Number of cycles plus the time it takes you to fall asleep.
Okay, that seems pretty
Look,
straightforward. So 1.5 hours represents one sleep cycle, right?
Exactly. And then the number of cycles you plug in there is ideally 5. Because remember, we said 5 cycles is a good target for most people.
Right. And then we have to add in the time it takes us to fall asleep.
Yes, which can vary from person to person, but the video says the average is about 14 minutes.
Okay, so let's say someone goes to bed at 10 p.m.
Okay, so using the formula, that would be 10 p.m. plus 1.5 hours times 5 cycles plus 14 minutes.
So 10 p.m. plus 7.5 hours plus 14 minutes.
Exactly, which means their ideal wake-up time would be around 5:44 a.m.
5:44 a.m.
Okay.
Okay, so if they go to bed at 10, they should wake up at 5:44.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah.
Because that way they're more likely to wake up during a lighter stage of sleep and feel more refreshed.
Gotcha. But what if someone goes to bed later? Like, say, 1 a.m.?
Well, the video says that while 5 cycles is often ideal, you can adjust the number of cycles depending on your situation.
So you could aim for fewer cycles.
Yes. But they do caution against consistently getting less than 3 cycles.
Okay, so 3 cycles is like the minimum.
Yeah, because even if you wake up at the optimal time within those cycles, if you're not getting enough total sleep, you're still going to be exhausted.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So if someone goes to bed at 1 a.m. and they want to get at least 3 cycles, when should they wake up?
Well, let's plug it into the formula. 1 a.m. plus 1.5 hours times 3 cycles plus 14 minutes.
Okay, so that's 1 a.m. plus 4.5 hours plus 14 minutes.
Which brings us to 5:44 a.m. again.
Wow. So even though they're going to bed much later, they should still aim to wake up at the same time.
Exactly. But keep in mind, they're only getting about 4 hours and 44 minutes of sleep in that scenario.
Which is not a lot.
No, it's definitely on the lower end of what most people need.
But it's better than waking up in the middle of deep sleep, right?
Exactly. It's about minimizing the grogginess as much as possible.
And of course, everyone's different. Some people might need more than 5 cycles and some might need less.
Yeah, the video says 5 cycles is a good starting point, but you have to kind of experiment and see what works best for you.
Okay, so the key takeaway here is to try to get around 5 cycles of sleep and use the formula to calculate your ideal wake-up time.
Exactly. And there's one more really important piece of advice that the video gives.
What's that?
When your alarm goes off at that calculated time, don't hit the snooze button.
Oh yeah, the snooze button. Why is that so bad?
Because when you hit snooze, you might fall back into a light sleep, and then when the alarm goes off again, you're being woken up from an even lighter stage of sleep, which can make you feel even more groggy.
Oh wow, so it's like a double whammy.
Exactly. It's better to just get up when your alarm first goes off.
Okay, good to know.
Mm.
And the video actually says that all this information is based on research from the Westlife Company.
Yeah, they found it in an article on telegraph.co.uk.
Interesting. So it's not just some random advice, it's actually backed by science.
Exactly. It all comes down to understanding how these sleep cycles work and how aligning our wake-up time with them can make a big difference.
Right. So basically, we feel tired sometimes because we're interrupting our sleep cycles. And by understanding these cycles and using the formula, we can try to wake up at a better time.
Precisely. It's all about being more strategic with our sleep.
Gotcha. So for everyone listening, I would say, track your sleep for a few nights and maybe play around with this formula. See if waking up at these calculated times makes a difference for you.
Yeah, and see how different cycle lengths affect you. Does 5 cycles feel best, or maybe 4 or 6?
Exactly. You have to kind of experiment and see what works for your body.
And if you're really interested in this stuff, there's a ton of information out there about sleep science.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating topic.
It is.
So yeah, hopefully this deep dive has given you guys some helpful information about how to beat that morning fatigue.
Yeah, and maybe you can start waking up feeling more energized and ready to take on the day.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, see you next time.